Wow, thank you for that beautiful song. Following our proper protocol and honoring the land here, the traditional landowners of the land, I'd like to call up to give us a proper welcome is the great-great-grandson of Chief Seattle. It's from the nation that resides right here. It's Ken Workman, so if we could give him a warm welcome, that'd be great.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. And while I appreciate the honors of great, I'm really not that old. So there's really 4 greats in there. So we would say in Lashutsi, we would go Akwayek, Siabsi, Atchad. And that means my name, or I am great-great-great-great-grandson of Chief Seattle. So, Ya Yustobs Tidsta, my name is Workman. Atad Duf Duabs the Ishachad. I am of the Duwamish Tribe. Yufakwa Siabsi Atchad. And great-great-great-great-grandson of Chief Seattle. And we say this like this so that you know who we are, so that when we're standing on this land that you're standing on today, that when I speak these words, that you know they come from the Duwamish and that they come from my great-grandfather. Formally, Gwigwi Hida Disiyaya. This means welcome, my friends. They are swastufted onto this land. That a long time ago everybody knew as Duwamish. Gwigwi Hida Disiyaya Atea swastufted Bakatats Iftal Bif Ohaidof Aslacheo Da Sapa Seattle. Welcome, my friends, onto this land that today we know as Seattle. After my Sapa, my grandfather's name, Seattle. Gwigwi Hidak, Gwigwi Hidak, Gwigwi Hidak. The Iiab, the Ishad, the Siyayaya. And this means welcome, honored ones, family and friends. Welcome.
Tsleil-Waututh Nation and the nations that we're working with that are going to be represented here and speak in Lummi Nation, Tulalip Nation, and a lot in Canada. First and foremost, how we do things is having and using how we're taught is to have our culture and our spirituality be the backbone behind all that we do, and that's how I've been taught. Whether it's been working in the healing field and running programs or being director of different programs, I incorporated our culture and spirituality in everything I did. And whether it was education or social services or employment training, from babies to adults to people in prison to everything. We took those same values and we did the same thing with our economic development. We took the same values and we do it now with environment. And it's so important because what we're up against is brutal. The Alberta tar sands in Canada, the earth they want to move is the same size as the country of Texas. And it takes 2 tons of earth to get 1 barrel. And you know how big a barrel of oil is. It takes 2 tons of earth to get 1 barrel. It takes 3.5 barrels of water to get 1 barrel. That's what it takes. And they're getting 1 million barrels a day. They want to triple that to over 3 million barrels a day. And those owners of those pipelines are making $71 million a day. That's what they're making. And I was just up there yesterday. I drove all day yesterday, all night to be here. I left in the morning yesterday and I got here around 11 o'clock last night. And it was a beautiful ceremony because I was traveling with Jewel James of the Lummi Nation, and he donated this huge, beautiful totem pole the size of these poles here and carved it and painted it. Just hundreds of hours of work that he put into it. Then he raised money to deliver it there. And how he did that is he wanted to start from South Dakota with our relations that are standing up against the Keystone Pipeline that's coming out of Alberta. And they did a ceremony there and they blessed it. And everybody in that ceremony got to put their hands on that totem pole. And the Cowboy and Indian Alliance were a big part of that as well. They were the ranchers and the cowboys and the Indians that were there standing up. So when we were there, we gave them a name, didn't we? This is Jon Ramer, by the way, he's my co-MC. Let's give him a hand.
And that's Sundance Chief Rueben George. Yeah.
So we went there and we gave them a name. We said they're the new CIA, the new Cowboy and Indian Alliance. That's the real one that's going to do something for this country, isn't it? So they put blessings on the totem pole, and they stopped at many villages and cities along the way. And then I joined when we got to Canada, and started in Victoria, came to Vancouver, went to Revelstoke, Jasper, Calgary, and Edmonton, and that's where I had to leave because I had to come back. But today they put up the totem pole. And it was so amazing because every stop, the people put in prayers, and when you're driving behind that totem pole, it already has a spirit. It already has a spirit, and that's a jewel put into it. But then it started to grow the more people put into it across the country. He gifted us to Tsleil-Waututh Nation a totem pole a year ago, and 7.5 million people viewed that totem pole across the country. And the same thing happened here. But when I'm driving behind that totem pole, I could feel that spirit, and it made me really emotional, just happy because, you know, we work so diligent and so hard and to get this message out, because when we started this campaign against Kinder Morgan, nobody knew what it was. Nobody knew what it was. Now we're to the point in British Columbia, right where the terminal is, the first suburb out of Vancouver, British Columbia, you know, to Tsleil-Waututh Nation, we're suing Canada for not consulting us with the First Nations. And And I believe this, not only for Canadians, but Americans too, because when people find out the true facts, the true facts of this destruction that this causes, people will want to make a better choice for the future generations. We put that message out there to the community in Vancouver, and 71% of the residents support the Tsleil-Waututh Nation in suing, and that's when we come out with the true facts. And this is at a time when Canada gave these fossil fuel companies, more particularly Keystone, Enbridge, and Kinder Morgan, $120 million just in advertisement money alone, not counting the $3 billion in subsidies, not counting the carbon tax, the plane tax, the car tax, all the taxes that they could put on fossil fuel development in Canada. Comes to $30 billion a year. Where kids are hungry, teachers are on strike, it's just completely backwards. So, when we went to the Alberta tar sands, and I'm going to have a hard time saying this, I got to sit with some of the people at our very last stop. One of the mothers came, and she talked to my mom. My mom said, "Come over quick." And she said, "Listen to this story." And she goes, "I saw you guys on the news last night, and I knew I had to be here." I said, "Myself and my kids are getting treated in the hospital with cancer." I said, "I had to be here. They're watching my kids," and I came down, and my mom said, "Show them." And I asked if I could share the story with her, and she said yes, and we filmed her. And she pulled up her sleeve of her arm, and there's welts all the way up her arm. And show them more. She pulled up her pants. Right from her knee to her ankle was like a scab of just sickness from the water. And she said, "We can't drink the water. We bottle the water to bathe our children. We're having problems breathing the air." She goes, 7 of my family are in the hospital now getting treated for cancer." And it makes me think of that $30 billion subsidies that they're given. Makes me think of Richard Kinder in his house in Texas that's making $71 million a day. Makes me think of those things of the water and the land and everything that's getting broken, everything that's getting ruined, and the people are dying. When we did a referendum in our community in a hall like this, we did a vote. We as a nation, we could have said, "Yeah, okay, let's negotiate with Kinder Morgan, let's take $10, $20 million for my nation. Help some of my people out of poverty, that'd be a good thing." You would think. There's a 101% consensus that, you know, we're not a rich community, but we stood up against them, we're suing them. And our court case looks good. I think about it and I'm happy. And when that lady stood across from me and she cried and she said, "Help me." She said, "Help me. Stop them, please, stop them." And I said, "We are and we will." With conviction, we could stand here and we could say that. We could say that. We've been stewards of our land and protecting our land for thousands of years, and we will continue to do that. We had a big court decision that I get into a little bit later, but it comes down to this. It comes down to this, and I was tired when I went up there, and I was questioning whether I could continue this fight. And I'm more passionate and I'm more motivated than ever, and they're not going to stop me or stop any of us when we come together and when we do something about this. So when I left, it was really heart-wrenching because that journey was so long and it was so tiring and so beautiful. We'd pull in sometimes 12 o'clock at night. We'd sleep maybe till 5, then we'd start getting ready, then we'd start speaking, then we'd do all these different tours throughout the day. And they did it, they're on their 3rd week now. And it's finishing today. And you know what? What it comes down to, though, it's a celebration. I'm here with you guys, and I wanted to be here. I wanted to be here. And all across the country where they touch people, people are thinking the same thing. We are waking up. We are waking up to that propaganda that the news is putting out, because we know that the fossil fuel companies, they come in, they buy the media, and they buy the politicians. We had a tailing pond just burst. Millions and millions of tons of sludge went into our waters and our reservoirs. Not only that they're not going to clean it, they're going to put hospital waste in that tailing pond now. That's what they're going to do. And we're not letting them get away with that as well. We're going to stand up and do something about that. But those are the kind of things that are happening. Right here in the United States alone, 3 million kilometers of oil and gas pipelines, which is about 2.2 million miles of pipelines. Here, where there's 20 spills a day. 20 spills a day, and when I stand here and I look out here and I see how beautiful it is, I see how precious it is. To Tsleil-Waututh people, we're called the people of the inlet, people of the water. Our lineage of where we come from is that water, for real. That's our story of creation. And I love my kids, they're here. I love them. And there's nothing I wouldn't do for them, and I know you love somebody that good as well. But what ceremony has taught me in the connection to the land and water, what it has taught me is that I love the land and I love the water and I love where I come from, which is that lineage of that water. It says, people of the water, people of the inlet. Ceremonies that we have, and if you have any religious belief, I know you believe the same thing, because some use candles, some use incense, we use sage or sweetgrass. It's the same message. It's those fundamentals of humanity that we'll go by and would want to make a difference and want to make a change, want to make something better and protect what we love. So it's easy for me to make a decision that I'm going to protect it. Like I love and protect my kids and do anything for them. And essentially we're doing it for them. And my kids tell me, they say, I had a beautiful conversation on the drive here, they're going to do something in their high schools to start educating people. Right here, we don't feel it, but Uncle Phil and I, we travel a lot around the world, and it's evident that what's going on is affecting them in their communities, because when we go to the grocery store, they only have half the food on their shelves. Panama, I think it was 8 a.m., right? They shut the city down, or 8 p.m., they shut the city down so people could discourage them from using water. Water shortages in Panama. And that's why they're standing up and they're doing something right away, is because they feel the effects. But here we're lucky because we don't see that yet. But as you know, 2 months ago, NASA came out with their study and they said it's going to be 5 to 10 years we're going to be fighting over water, fighting over food. And who's going to suffer? I tell you, it's not those guys that are making $71 million a day. It's us, the people, our land and our water. But anyway, we have a lot of great speakers, and I just wanted to share why we're here. We're kicking off our campaign for Washington State. We're going to kick it off so we can continue that the residents here, once they're educated properly, not by the BS that they see on the news, who is owned by the same people who own some of the fossil fuel companies. Look at how CNN and Fox News, see how they do things. Like Van Jones got a show on there, and I was like, cool, I get to watch Van Jones. Used to be the czar for Obama, and I said, that's great. I couldn't watch those guys smile. I couldn't watch those. But anyway, we have a lot of great speakers, and John's going to introduce our next speaker here, Uncle Phil.
Yeah. Fabulous. Thank you, Ruben. First off, I am so grateful that you're here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making it possible for there to be an us that recognizes what's right. And we're birthing this Nawtsamaat alliance, right? This beautiful Coast Salish word that means one house, one heart, one prayer, united in power to protect the sacred. That's what we're here to do today. And that means we need to get to know each other. So Phil said, yes, we have to do a handshake circle. So this idea of unprecedented unified action. You can imagine me from the Brooklyn Jewish tribe. What a privilege and honor. What a privilege and honor it is to work with Rueben and Phil and so many of you that are in this room. So we need to come to know each other. We can't stay separate. Disunity is the worst thing. And we have a moment today to ignite something like we've never done before. And that's what we saw in South Dakota when the new CIA emerged right in front of us. Imagine a room full of ranchers and farmers on the second day who got to speak to a room full of First Nations and Native Americans. And the ranchers were standing up and shouting that the government's going to take their land and they won't let that happen. A room full of First Nation Native Americans like, wait a minute, guys, right? And this one woman said, it's so bad, it's so bad. And someone shouted out, yeah, they're treating you like Indians. And Orville, looking horse, goes up to her and shakes her hand and says, welcome to the tribe. All right. So Phil, first off, I just can't introduce Hereditary Chief Phil Lane Jr. without recognizing the incredible significance of his presence here. The CEO of United Indians of all nations for so many years, his working with Bernie White Bear, his teaching, his eldership, his wisdom, his love of his father and his mother. He teaches me and all of us every day. Phil, I'd ask that you come up and share with us how we do a handshake with Debra Parker. Debra, from the vice chair of the Tulalip Tribe. All right. And Lacey.
Yes. And you know, and at this time, it's so important for us that have the honor of walking on this sacred land. So many tears and so many prayers have gone into in this entire area that we're so blessed to be able to look out and see the beautiful day around us and get up during the year and enjoy the beautiful rain and everything and travel up through Tulalip country and up further north. That for those, we'd like to ask those relatives from First Nations that touch this land, if you'd stand up for a moment, just stand up wherever you might be, stand up, and I just want to give them a little, yeah, and let's give them a little hand here. I think that this is where the Thanksgiving is, up here. Really, thank you. Thank you. Now, one of the teachings, and I'm glad Coach Rueben here is ready to go with the drum. One of the teachings my father passed along to me was, walk the spiritual path with practical feet. So what I'm meaning is, I'm seeing this handshake circle, except it's running all over outside and back and forth. So we're going to modify this handshake circle a little bit, if you don't mind. Toshka Ruben's going to sing for us. And during this time, I'd like you, on your own, to crisscross around and at least shake hands with 18 people you don't know.
Oh,
So, for some people, the term Salish Sea is not a familiar term. So, one of the things we're looking to dissolve in this conversation is the artificial political boundaries of Canada and United States and Washington and British Columbia. Let's be clear, climate knows no borders, oil doesn't know any borders, right? And this Salish Sea, which is a united space that we happen to have the privilege of being in, has representatives of many tribes here that we want to have a chance to speak, okay? So I'm going to have the good fortune to introduce Debra Parker, who is a member of the board of the Tulalip Tribe. She's a scholar, okay? She's a graduate of the University of Washington. Many know her because of her work with the VAWA, the Violence Against Women Act, that she made sure happened and got reinstated again. She's a remarkable leader, mother of 5 beautiful children. So we want to hear from the Tulalip Nation, and it gives me great privilege and pleasure to introduce Debra Parker.
Haslahel. Good afternoon. Sitsayaltsa Sitsta. My traditional name is Sitsayaltsa, and I come from the Duwamish people, the Tulalip people. I'm an enrolled member of the Tulalip tribes, and I currently have the honor of serving my tribe as one of our female leaders. And it's such a humbling experience, but it's also one of the most difficult positions to hold, because as some of you in this room know, that we are constantly fighting on behalf of our environment, on behalf of our traditional language, on behalf of the winged, the four-legged. We are constantly fighting on behalf of our children. And we look not only today, but we look at 7 generations. And as our chairman stated last week, beyond 7 generations now. We have a real crisis happening. And I believe that's why each and every one of you are here today. So I want to begin by honoring you for being in this room. Please give yourself a round of applause. Thank you. And I believe you're all in this room because you're an activist. You don't believe in sitting at home, am I right? Right, fist in the air. Well, it's such an honor to be here with you, each and every one of you here today. I see a lot of my good friends and relatives who I know have been at many events. And I just want to honor Jon Ramer here, who's one of the co-MCs, and Salish Rueben George. I know he's been traveling across the world, night and day. He's going. And we have 2 children here. My son Cedar, his Indian name is Skalus, and we have Kaya here. Her Indian name is Halia. And I also have my little guy running on the beach. His name is Witwa. So my message I'd like to share with each and every one of you here today is a message I shared in North Dakota yesterday, as a matter of fact. I caught my flight back too. It's a message of the woman nation. It's a message that I've learned from my grandmothers, my great-grandmothers, their great-grandmothers, many generations back. We are the life givers. And there's a role that we have in our society, in our community. And that role is not only the opportunity to give life to our children, but it's also a role that we need to be leaders in our community and protect our community. So for each and every one of you life givers, it's not just protecting our children and putting food on the table. But my question would be, what kind of food are you going to put on the table? If we have coal trains going across the country, which we do, if we start to look at big business and oil companies and degrading of the land, what kind of food are we going to feed our children? But I ask you to go steps deeper than just feeding our own babies. What about the creatures? What about our brothers and sisters in the sea? What about the birds that come down and scoop and get their meals for the water? They need fresh food as well. And so as a life giver, as we continue to move through the lands here, all of us as one now, it used to be just our Coast Salish people here. My community, and I see we have Justin Finkbonner, he's from the Lummi Nation here today. His relatives, the relatives of the Duwamish people, our Stahobish people, and all of our ancestors who had their longhouses across the waters here. Those are our people. And so now we have a greater community. And I like the thought of unified action, because yes, we have to come together. The males, the females, we have to come together. There's traditional roles that we hold, not just as a Coast Salish woman. I'm sharing these teachings with you. And I'm asking you to take some of your teachings, because some of that is to protect the land. It should be inherent in each and every one of us. It should be inherent. And when you teach your children, do you give thanks each and every day for that food on the table? And so today I'm grateful that we're not here to forget, we are here to remember. And so with each moment, with each breath, my hope and my prayer for each and every one of you is to remember some of those teachings. And I'm so grateful that you have a lot of good speakers here today, some very passionate, very loving, very caring people who are here today to remind you, to remind me, I'm here too, because I need my spirit fed. We all need our spirit fed. And so that's why I'm here today. And I'm grateful my children, they got up early because they know they wanted to be here. They wanted to feed their spirits. And I'm going to ask them to come forward and just share just a couple words because they have strong medicines. They're looking at me like, Mom, are you kidding me? But I'm serious. And as for all you parents out there and you're driving in the car with your kids, that's some of the best time to talk to your kids because there's no TV, they're not in their bedrooms, no video games. So I'm going to ask my daughter first to come forward. Her traditional name is Halia. And this is what we did in the old times when I was younger. There's elders they took me to the microphone to see if I was listening. And so I'm going to see if my daughter's listening, and I know she has been. I'd like her just to share a few words with each and every one of you, because she travels most weekends to fight on behalf of the environment, and she takes me with her. Ladies and gentlemen, Halia Kaya George.
Wow, thank you, Mom. Thank you. Sorry, it's a little unexpected, but I know this is part of our teachings that we get. All she's doing really is, I'm happy I'm coming up here because she's passing down the lessons. When she was my age, she tells me the stories of how her elders and her mother and my grandparents, her mom and dad, they would bring her to these events, and they would make her speak. They'd be like, what are you doing? Don't be sitting down. You have to go up there and talk. This is your land. This is our teachings. You have to go up there. You have to help. Like, you're young. So I'm glad. And now she's passing on the role to me to protect the environment. I know it's big shoes to fill. My dad, Rueben George, and my mom, Debra Parker. And I'm very grateful that all of you are here, and I'm very grateful my mom asked me to speak. And the environment, it's a very dear to me. And thank you all for coming here today.